Hello there! So, for another continuation of Walt Whitman's poem, we're going to discuss about miracles. Miracles is a poem that stresses that everything in life is a miracle. From a cubic inch of space to animals feeding in the field are miracles. Every second in life is a miracle. For me, miracle is seen everywhere in our surroundings. But before our analysis, let's first read about the miracles. Why? Who makes much of a miracle? As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles. Whether I walk the streets of Manhattan, or dart my sight over the roofs of houses toward the sky, or wade with naked feet along the beach just in the edge of the water, or stand under the trees in the woods, or talk by day with anyone I love, or sleep in the bed at night with anyone I love, or sit at table at dinner with my mother, or look at strangers opposite me riding in the car, or watch honeybees busy around the hive of a summer forenoon, or animals feeding in the fields, or birds, or the wonderfulness of insects in the air, or the wonderfulness of the sundown, or of stars shining so quiet and bright, or the exquisite delicate thin curve of the new moon in spring, or whether I go among those I like best, and that like me best, mechanics, boatmen, farmers, or among the savants, or to the soiree, or to the opera, or stand a long while looking at the movements of machinery, or behold children at their sports, or the admirable sight of the perfect old man, or the perfect old woman, or the sick in hospitals, or the dead carried to burial, or my own eyes and figure in the glass. This, with the rest, one and all, are to me miracles, the whole referring, yet each distinct and in its place. To me, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle. Every cubic inch of space is a miracle. Every square yard of the surface of the earth is spread with the same. Every foot of the interior swarms with the same. Every foot of the interior swarms with the same. Every spear of grass, the frames, the limbs, organs of men and women, and all that concerns them, all this to me are unspeakably perfect miracles. To me, the sea is a continual miracle. The fishes that swim, the rocks, the motion of the waves, the ships with men in them. What stranger miracles are there? Now, let's move on to the experiential phase using the reader response criticism. For me, miracle symbolizes the four things in my life. First, of course, is about the life. Life is a miracle, like how we have lived until now, how we can see the beauty of the world and the smile of every child, like how we can touch the softness of our skin and the roughness of the calloused hands of our parents, how we can smell the fragrance of a newly blossomed flower and the foul odor of durian fruit, and of course the miracle of how we can taste the sweetness of the honey or the bitterness of an unripe mango. Every day for me is a miracle. Every breath I take is a great miracle that I always ponder. How can I sleep without noticing if I am really breathing? It's a miracle that every time I hear my alarm clock rings, I can still open my eyes and feel the softness of my pillows. Every time I am alone and traveling, I always see people's smiles everywhere, and that I consider as one of the greatest miracles I always witness. Another thing that I can relate to miracle is having my friends and family. I have once asked myself, if I was born in another family, could I still have the same life and group of friends? I thought not. It's a miracle how my mom gave birth to me at the age of 39, despite not wanting to have more children after my six siblings. It's a miracle as how my friends stayed with me like my soul sisters and brothers after so many years. The connection we have is deep that we can understand each other's by just our stares. Some people would say it's a coincidence. But no, it's a miracle given by God that He allowed me to meet these people in order to complete me as a person. Another thing is wisdom. I consider wisdom as a miracle given to me because I think I can easily assess and solve difficult situations I am always involved. It is a miracle that I can understand other people's emotion and wisdom. It can also be seen as how we can decide on every choice we make in our daily lives. The depth of the wisdom of each person differs from each other's, and that could be a miracle. I can also add that having great intuitions is also a miracle. Lastly is about the nature. I consider nature as a miracle as it can create magical things that humans cannot do. It can shake and terrify us in its frustration, but it can also comfort us in its peacefulness. By just seeing the greenery things around me, it can give me internal peace. It can calm my raging emotions. Thus, all these things I can relate to as having miracles. Now, let's proceed to the contextual phase using the close reading analysis. But before that, let me give you a little information about our poem. Miracles was first published as Poem of Perfect Miracles. It received its shortened title in 1867 and took its final form, shortened by 11 lines, in 1881, as part of the Autumn Rivulets cluster. The first question we have in close reading is, what is the first thing you notice about the passage? The poem started in rhetorical question, why, who makes much of a miracle? That sets the tone and the remainder parts of the poem. It also ends with a question, what stranger miracles are there? These questions enable the readers to ask themselves first and ponder who really make much of a miracle before going through the poem. Then, when the author discusses the descriptive images found in the poems, it has then asked the readers another question that only the readers can answer. Most of the time, poems that begins and ends with a question can build a strong foundation to someone's imagination and comprehension. It challenges the readers to assess their own definition of miracles. Next, what is the second thing that you notice? The second thing I noticed is the number of images and activities that were mentioned, like walking in Manhattan streets, wading along a shore, sleeping with another, observing strangers, watching animals gaze. The images in this poem lack the brazy imaginative freshness, rather, it has a plain sort of beauty. The images cover a variety of things like the urban and rural, indoors and out, human and animal, day and night, water, land, and sky. The poem then ends with series of images associated with the sea and a variation of the opening question, which brings the poem full circle that creates an intuition of unity. Third question, do the two things you notice complement each other or contradict each other? I think the things I notice from this poem complement each other because the question makes the readers ponder. Meanwhile, the various images in the poem created specific and simple scenarios that the readers can relate. By giving questions and providing images, it can trigger one's simple imagination. Lastly, how does the author reveal the meaning of the poem? The author reveals that he believes in miracles not because he has experienced a blind man given sight or a dead person's raised to life, but because he has experienced the very things that most every other person experiences on a daily basis. Most people would never recognize these things as miracles, but Whitman does. Next, we will have the analytical phase using the new literary criticism. Let's discuss about the theme. The theme of the poem is to appreciate life and all of its small details as time may pass you by. Now, let's proceed to the analysis. Walt Whitman's Miracles is a lyric poem that consists of three versographs, or the combination of verse and paragraph. The first versograph features a long catalog for which Whitman is noted. The second reinforces his notion that everything in creation is a miracle, and the third takes a special note of the miracle of the ocean. Whitman's poems begins and ends with a question that rhetorically, as usual, answers itself. The speaker wishes to assert and defend the idea that all aspects of creation are, in fact, miracles, not just the so called supernatural events that are often touted as miraculous. The speaker intuits that anything that seems supernatural is merely not yet understood. By claiming that everything from a fish to a man is a miracle, he transcends the mundane notion that divides humanity as it strives to discern what is holy and what is not. At this time, let's analyze the poem line by line. In the first line, the speaker begins with an exclamation, "Why?" That implies that he has just heard someone's remark about some possible supernatural event that is being touted as a miracle. He then asks the question, "Who makes much of a miracle?" The question is merely rhetorical because the speaker continues to answer his own question. The speaker avers that he is not aware that there is anything in existence that is not a miracle, and he then begins a long catalogue of things he claims are miracles. Meanwhile, the second line, "As to me, I know of nothing but miracles." It shows that the speaker thinks that everything around him is exciting and interesting. This line revealed the gratefulness of the speaker to everything in his life, whether it is a simple or huge thing. Lines 3 to 7 support the idea that the speaker calls everything that he does, feels, and sees as miracles. As to me, I know of nothing but miracles. Whether I walk the street of Manhattan or wade with naked feet along the beach, shows that the speaker is excited with all the natural emotions he feels. He feels the softness of the sand at the beach directly by his feet without any footwear. It also tells that he enjoys the beautiful scene of the beach or anything around him that is made by nature. Lines 7 to 9 show the perspective of the speaker about spending his time to other people, especially to his loved ones. Doing some activities with the people he valued can also be considered as a miracle according to the speaker. It doesn't need to be lavish, but simple things like communication or having dinner with his parents can make the speaker feel the miracle because it can bring his loved one closer to him. The speaker also finds the stranger things he met as a miracle. He thought of them just like he thought about his family and made him realize that there are still many people living in the world just like him. Besides from human observations, the speaker also pays attention to animals. It can be seen in the lines 10 to 12. He expresses the excitement he feels towards seeing or hearing various animals. He appreciates the birds and other little insects that fly in the air. The lines 13 to 17 simply talks about the nature, the thing around him, and various people that send a strong positive energy. However, in the lines 19 to 20, he included the old, the sick people at the hospitals and the dead. It's quite intriguing as how he can find miracles in these subjects. But specifically speaking, even the dead are parts of the miracles that we are humans too. So humans can be born and be buried, who can feel and be numbed, who can cry and be silent forever. While the first lines 21 to 23 of the first stanza talk again about the author simplifying everything as miracles in his point of view. The second stanza, that consists of lines 24 to 29, refer to the celestial bodies that most of the people have not seen yet. However, these lines send a message that miracles are the numerous things that we can and cannot notice. To simply say this, the meanings of miracles in these lines are endless. The speaker does not only wonder about what are in the land or in the air, he also wonders about life in the water. It can be proven in third stanza that consists of lines 30 to 32. We can imagine various fishes that swim in the sea with a ship on the surface. One thing for sure, sea symbolizes the vastness of the world. The fishes are the beautiful things hidden in it, or what we can consider as a miracle. While the boat with many people aboard are we humans who try to discover everything and go everywhere we want. that we sometimes cannot notice the hidden miracles in our surroundings or just right in front of our eyes. Lastly, we will discuss the literary features of miracles. First, we have repetition. Repetition is the simple repeating of a word within a poetic line, with no particular placement of the words in order to secure emphasis. In this poem, it is used when the poet repeat or as well as to me, which is when he is trying to express how many things he thinks are miracles. Example, to me, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle. Next, to me, the sea is a continual miracle. So we have here the repetition of to me. Next is we have the free verse. The whole poem consists of Whitman as the narrator describing all the miracles that are around him. There is no particular rhyme or rhythm to this poem. It merely consists of descriptive language. Next is we have imagery. Whitman uses imagery by describing the many miracles he sees. He then creates a picture in the mind of the reader, like in the lines 3 to 5. Whether I walk the streets of Manhattan, or dart my sight over the roofs of houses towards the sky, or wade with naked feet along the beach just in the edge of the water. Another thing is the motive. Motive is the recurring image, phrase, word, action, idea, object, situation, or person. The motive that is used in this poem is miracle, like in lines 1 and 2. Why? Who makes much of a miracle? As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles. Lastly, we have the metaphor. The entire poem is a metaphor because everything that the speaker can see or feel are assumed to be miracles. Miracles have often been looked to as proof of divine status or power, and the debate regarding the authenticity of biblical miracles already had a long history when Whitman wrote this poem. His response was not to debunk such exceptional events, but rather to disregard them. Arguments about their actuality were beside the point, since to him the natural was more interesting and important than the supernatural, and the common was fully miraculous and sufficiently divine. So, how about you? How do you define miracles?